A civil matter, which we briefly discussed yesterday throughout jury selection. The matter that proceeds before the court is captioned under docket L-6-19. It's Elizabeth and Joseph McWhite versus Evan Ford. We're proceeding with the trial on the Zoom virtual platform. The matter is being recorded by our court clerk, Martina Hinman. And I'm going to start with the appearances of the attorneys in this matter, and then we will get started with the opening arguments for this trial. On behalf of the plaintiff, your appearance, please.
Good morning, Your Honor. Patrick Arms on behalf of the plaintiffs.
And on behalf of the defendant.
Catherine Schmutz from Ibrahim and Jackson.
Okay, thank you both. I have been advised by my staff that the evidence packets have been delivered to all of our 8 jurors. So if that is not true, certainly hit the Zoom raise your hand function and just make sure we have our information correct. And again, just if you could hold on to those packets, and at the appropriate time, we'll refer you to them. The other thing I wanted to mention about the packets before we get started is we will be picking those packets up at the end, at the conclusion of this trial. So please hold on to those, and we will collect those at the end of the trial. So without any further waiting, we're going to start this trial, and we're going to start it with the opening arguments. First, the plaintiff will present opening arguments, and then the defendant will present opening arguments. Mr. Grimes, whenever you're ready, sir.
Thank you, Your Honor. If it may please the court, defense counsel, ladies and gentlemen of the jury. First, let me apologize for not standing. This is a first for me. I have stood every time before a judge and the jury when I made an opening. This is a first. We're all learning new things right now, like the word Zoom, COVID, expedited jury trials. These are all new things that we're experiencing together. So I'm going to ask you to forgive me for not standing. But what this case is about, and my burden, is to prove to you that Miss McWhite was injured because of the plaintiff's negligence. You're going to hear that this was a violent intersectional collision. This was no tap in the rear. This was a bad accident, and you're all going to see the severe photos of property damage from that accident. This case is not about fault. There's no dispute that the defendant was negligent and at fault for causing the accident that injured Miss McWhite. You're going to hear certified medical records which explain the injury that Miss McWhite suffered. The only argument you're going to hear from the defense, I submit, is that the defense was going to argue that my client's old. That age is the cause of all her problems. You're going to hear that in her opening. I haven't heard her opening yet, but I know she's going to say it. There's a fatal flaw, which I will prove to you during the trial. It was not age that caused my client's problems. Not age at all. My client was working 2 jobs, getting up every day, working for 20 years, helping other people. You're going to hear that from her. The 2 jobs that she worked, you're going to hear that she's like the Brady Bunch mom. Her husband, sitting next to him, had 3 children. He had 3 children. And together they married, and then they had 2 more children. He's a mother of 9.
Mr. Grimes, can I just stop you for 1 second?
Sure.
I'm going to suggest that you lower your mask, and you're coming off a little bit garbled, and the Supreme Court does allow some discretion with regard to mask lowering as long as social distance is maintained. And I know your clients are in a different room and there is a physical barrier between you and your clients, if you're comfortable with that.
Actually, my clients are in the same room as me.
Okay.
And that's why they're wearing masks and so on.
Are they more than 6 feet apart?
Oh, yes. Well, from me. Her
We-
husband. In any event,
All right, I just want you to know that you are a little bit muffled, and I think it's very, your opening argument is extremely important. And if we need to take a break and maybe set up your clients with a device in another room, as I think we had them yesterday, so they can hear your opening argument, that way you could lower your mask and not be as muffled as you currently are.
they don't ask for that.
Okay. All right. If you're comfortable proceeding, I just wanted you to be aware.
I am.
Try to talk a little more directly forward, because it seems better when you're forward. We can hear you better.
Okay. I apologize. In any event, we will prove throughout this trial that as a result of this accident, my client suffered very severe injuries to her neck, very severe and permanent injuries, and to her shin. That when this collision occurred, she was thrown forward, that her shin hit the dashboard, and that her neck was thrown forward, and she suffered injuries. The fatal flaw in the defense argument is that my client never had any problems with her neck before this accident. If she had, she would have been treating for them. 20 years, no treatment. But because of this accident, you're going to see needles injected into my client's spine to help her relieve the pain in her spine. And she did not undergo that procedure one time or suffer the risk of complications from that procedure one time. We're going to prove she underwent those procedures multiple times because that's the type of pain she was in from this accident. And at the end of this case, we're going to ask you to compensate her fairly for that pain. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Mr. Grimes. Ms. Schmutz, whenever you're ready, we'll hear your opening argument.
Thank you, Your Honor. Good morning, everybody. It's different that we're all doing this via Zoom for everybody involved, and I want to thank you for your willingness to participate as jurors and participate in this new experience that we're all learning from. So all parties, both me, counsel, and the parties involved, really appreciate your time this week with us. As you know, you've heard several times now, I represent Mr. Evan Ford in this accident. As far as the reason for this trial, you're here to decide one thing, and that's whether or not Ms. McWhite is entitled to damages as a result of this accident. Counsel told you in his opening that Mr. Ford has accepted fault for this accident. That's not an issue. You don't have to worry about that. We've taken that off the table for you. We're simplifying this for you in your decision and leaving it for you to decide whether or not the plaintiff has sustained her burden of proof that she has a permanent injury in this accident. And that's what you need to decide. Under New Jersey law, for a plaintiff to be entitled to damages as a result of a motor vehicle accident, the plaintiff must prove, and they have the burden of proof, not the defense, they must prove that they have a permanent injury related to this accident. The judge is going to give you a whole bunch of instructions at the end of the case with definitions and how you're supposed to make your decision. And one of the things he's going to explain to you is what a permanent injury is. And a permanent injury, he'll tell you, is an injury that has not and will not heal to function normally with further medical treatment. And I want you to keep in mind the standard as you're listening to the testimony and reviewing the packets and making your decision, because that is what this entire case is about, whether or not the plaintiff has met that burden of proving that. And how does the plaintiff need to prove this? She needs to prove this through objective, credible evidence. You'll learn that there's different types of evidence. There's objective evidence and then there's subjective evidence. Objective evidence is evidence that can't be faked. It can't be altered by the person giving them, as opposed to subjective, which is evidence that is really up to the person providing them to give them to you. It could vary. One example, and an important example of what subjective evidence is subjective complaints of pain or complaints of pain. They're subjective. Counsel referenced that you're going to see the photographs of the accident, the cars involved, and you'll notice that the damages to the front end of the vehicle. But other facts that you're going to hear about the accident, other than just the damage to the vehicle, is that the plaintiff was wearing her seatbelt. You're going to also hear about the complaints that she had at the scene. You're going to hear about complaints that she had at in the EMS, the ambulance. And then you're going to hear about her complaints that she had throughout her treatment in this matter. Now, briefly, and I don't like to go super long into my opening argument because you haven't heard any evidence yet. But just to kind of give you, a short little outline of what you're going to hear about, you're going to hear about her treatment and when it ended. She's not currently treating. You're going to hear that she treated with regional orthopedics, and she treated with them from January 2017, after this accident, a couple weeks after this accident, through December of 2018. And that's the last that she treated from this accident. You're going to hear that she also underwent chiropractic care, and that chiropractic care ended in August of 2017. Counsel advised you, and you'll hear that she did undergo injections, but again, she hasn't undergone any treatment since December of 2018. And despite the risks involved, she did undergo them, and there were no complications, and you'll hear that as well. You're also going to hear about things that occurred after this accident. You're going to hear that she was involved in a subsequent accident. You're going to hear that, as counsel alluded, that she was working 2 jobs, that she didn't miss any time from her jobs. You're going to hear that she did not have any restrictions in her jobs after this accident. Now, what am I asking you? I'm asking you to review the evidence. And again, like I told you, you haven't heard any evidence. What I say, what counsel says is not evidence. What the evidence is in this case is the packets that you're going to review and the testimony that you're going to hear. And I want you to pay attention and think about credibility, consistency, and believability when you're reviewing this evidence. You're going to have packets from both the defense and the plaintiff when you're deliberating, and I believe the judge is going to give you some time to look at them before we even close, which will give you an idea of what we're going to argue. And you'll see objective studies in that packet. You'll see that she underwent MRIs. You'll see that she underwent x-rays and CTs at the hospital, and you'll see what those results were and how they don't support a finding of an acute injury related to this accident. What you're also going to have is that, as per the court rules allow, the defense is allowed to have a plaintiff examined by a doctor of their choosing. And in this case, she was seen by Dr. Stephen Valentino, who did an independent medical examination of the plaintiff. And you're going to be able to read his report. And he was provided the medical records to review, he was provided the MRIs to review personally, and he does a physical examination of the plaintiff. And you're going to be able to read what her complaints were at that time that he saw her. And you're going to see what his opinion is as to what the MRIs and the other objective studies show. And you're going to read that his opinion is that she did not sustain a permanent injury related to this accident. Now, you guys are the judges of the fact. You need to determine what rings true, listen to the testimony, and use your good judgment, your life experiences, and your sound discretion. And most importantly, use your common sense when you're looking at this evidence and reviewing and discussing with each other at the end of this case. You all took oaths to be fair and impartial, not to be swayed by your sympathies, and that's what you need to do here. You need to focus on whether or not she has met her burden, that she sustained a permanent injury related to this motor vehicle accident. And I'm certain that after you hear all the evidence and review all the packets, that you will agree with me that she has not met this burden. And again, I thank you for your time this week.
Okay, thank you very much, Ms. Schmutz. Unless there are any issues, we're going to proceed with calling the first witness, which will be plaintiff. You may call your first witness, Mr. Grimes.
Thank you, Your Honor. Your Honor, at this time, the plaintiff will call Ms. McWhite. I want to make sure that she's shown up on the screen. Are you?
Yes. Yes, sir.
I take it we should swear her in.
Yes, Ms. McWhite. Is it possible for you? I'm not going to have you stand because then the camera will have to be adjusted and such things. So I'm just going to ask you to raise your right hand, please. All right, ma'am, do you swear or affirm under the penalty provided by the law that the testimony you're about to give to the court shall be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth?
Yes.
All right, I'm going to ask you to state your name and to spell your last name for us.
McWhite.
All right, so again, as you're a little bit muffled, and it's very, very important that the jury be able to hear you. So are you more than 6 feet away from Mr. Grimes?
I am.
Okay.
Yes.
All right, I'm going to allow you, which is in my discretion under the Supreme Court. If you're comfortable, you can lower your mask to give your testimony. Or whenever you're ready, Mr. Grimes.
Thank you. I'd like to direct your attention back to January 11th, 2017. And ask at that time, were you married?
Yes.
And you were married to Joseph?
Yes.
And how long have you been married?
In 2002.
Okay, so almost 20 years.
Yes.
And before you married Mr. McWhite, you had 3 children.
Yes.
And when you met Mr. McWhite, he had 3 children.
Yes.
Okay. And then together, you and he had 2 additional children.
Yes.
I'm going to ask you to stop for just 1 second. There's a little bit of a feedback issue.
I agree.
So we're going to just take a break. I'll ask my staff to place our jury in the jury deliberation room with the jury aide, and then the rest of us will remain, and we will figure out this feedback issue as we work through some of these things. I think you'll be able to hear much better now, and you'll also be able to see Ms. McWhite, which is very important. So we're going to proceed with the testimony whenever you're ready, Mr. Grimes.
Thank you, Your Honor. Mr. McWhite, I think we last were speaking about what happened to you inside the cabin of your vehicle upon impact. Could you describe that for us?
The airbag deployed, burnt my hands, burnt the top of my stomach, burnt a couple of pieces of my jeans. But I didn't notice that until I got to the hospital. Also, I noticed that the dashboard was in my lap, the steering wheel, and I couldn't get out. Off-duty fireman and somebody else came and was fanning me with cardboard to get the smoke out of the thing because I have asthma, and I couldn't stop choking and coughing or whatever. So he pulled it out and he touched my leg and he said, "Are you bleeding?" I said, "No." I said, I can't move my neck. That's about it. And he said, "You are bleeding." And he pulled it off, he jerked it up, and they got me out, put me on the stretcher, and the ambulance guy cut up my pants leg. I asked him not to do it because it was my favorite jeans, and he said, "Can you take them off?" I said, "No, I can't move my neck." And he said, "Shh," and sliced up the side of them. And it was bleeding. I had a big gash in it, but it actually didn't hurt until I got to the hospital. I guess I was nervous, but when I got to the hospital, my knee, my leg, everything hurt. My neck, my back. So they took x-rays and.
Okay. So when you got to the hospital, first off, the police officer assisted you getting to the hospital.
Yes.
He called an ambulance for you.
Yes.
And when you got to the hospital, you let them know what was bothering you.
Yes.
What was bothering you the most?
It was my neck. It was my neck and my arm. I don't know. I couldn't move it. I don't know. It was just, I couldn't move it.
Okay. Did the hospital x-ray your neck?
Yes.
Did they tell you your neck was broken?
No, he told me I had some kind of bulge or something in there, and I would have to have that taken care of. And they had me in some kind of splint until about 4 hours later. They took it off after they did the thing and told me it's probably going to be there forever.
Did you feel any spasm in your neck?
I actually didn't until I went home. And 3 days later, I couldn't move my neck at all. I couldn't. I had to drive to the hospital holding my neck like this because I couldn't move. Every time it went over a thing, it went through my whole body. I was crying on the way to the hospital. I didn't understand what was going on. I just woke up and couldn't move. My husband thought I was playing. I said, I can't move. You have to take me to the hospital. I never had to ride to the hospital with my head like this because every time it went over the phone, it was terrible.
How many times did you go to the hospital?
Could you repeat that question, Mr. Grimes, please?
Sure. I said, how many times did you go to the hospital because of the pain in your neck?
Twice. The first time when I woke up in pain, and I say about 2 weeks later it happened again. But this time it didn't scare me because I knew what it was. And they started giving me injections.
Did anyone recommend that you seek orthopedic treatment?
Yes,
Who?
the hospital, actually.
And did you follow that recommendation?
Yes.
Okay. Who did you see?
Dr. Clean.
Collini? Did you also see Dr. Garcia Pena?
Yes.
And what did they do for you?
Pena is the chiropractor. He relieved the pain for like just that couple of days, and then it would come back. And I still had to continue with the injections because that was the only thing that relieved it for at least 3 months. It would stop it.
Well, before we get to injections, did they give you any medication first?
They tried to give me one. I told them it was too much. Percocet, but I can't take that.
Why?
I guess it's too strong for me. My body's not used to. I don't take medicine, so it's too strong.
Before they did injections, did they recommend that you undergo physical therapy?
Yes.
Okay. What did they do for you there?
He massaged my neck, put heat and massaged my neck with the heat and everything. It felt okay, but it didn't last. It didn't last as long as the injection.
Did you continue to complain to your doctors about the pain in your neck?
Yes.
Did they recommend that you undergo any type of objective diagnostic test, like an MRI or an EMG?
Yes.
Did you undergo an MRI?
Yes.
And after you underwent that objective test, did the doctor explain to you what the MRI showed?
Yes.
And when you underwent the EMG, did the doctor explain why you were undergoing that objective test?
Yes.
Okay. What was explained to you?
They were trying to see why my back and everything was still hurting in my neck. And they told me, I don't know, C6, C3,
Objection.
something.
Can you just hold on, Ms. McWhite? There is an objection. And I think I'm going to ask that we address it at sidebar. So Tina's going to put us in a breakout room, myself and the two attorneys, so I can deal with this objection. And we'll be back with our.
Jeez. Okay. I think we left off, Miss McWhite, when you were at the hospital.
Yes.
Correct?
Yes.
And you told us about your neck pains, right?
Yes.
Okay. And after that, did you seek orthopedic treatment?
Yes.
Okay. What did they initially recommend to you?
To see a chiropractor.
And Did they tell you why?
Um, they told me I would still have pain to go see a chiropractor and maybe an ortho.
Okay. Did you undergo chiropractic treatment?
I did.
Okay. For how long?
I believe for 3 or 4 months it kind of hurt, so I stopped going.
You say it kind of hurt. What did they do to you?
Um, he would massage my neck, crack my neck, but I felt worse going out than I did going in, so I didn't want to go anymore.
I completely understand. Okay. So after you did that, any other treatment?
Then we went through the shots.
Okay. Do you remember your first shot?
I believe it was March of the same year.
All right. So we have provided the panel with the records of the shots or injections that you have undergone. Um, let's talk about whether you were awake or not when you underwent those shots.
I was asleep.
The first time?
Yes,
Okay. So the first time you felt no pain.
I did until it kicked in. They told me it takes about 2 hours because my neck was in pain. I said I'm still in pain, and they say give it about 2 hours to let the medicine start working.
What were the potential complications explained to you before you underwent that first operative procedure?
Um, Paralyzed, partial paralyzed.
And where did you undergo that procedure?
Washington Township. Um,
Okay.
advanced therapy. I'm not sure.
Okay. Who took you there?
My husband.
Okay. Was your husband in the operating room when they injected your spine?
No, in recovery.
Did you ask if he could be there?
They told me no one. I did. They told me no one was allowed in there. But the doctors.
How did you feel before you went in to that procedure?
Nervous and in pain.
Did you have any fear?
Yes, very nervous.
What kind of fear?
That I'll be paralyzed or partially paralyzed.
And when you came out, how did you feel?
Still in pain. It took about 2 hours. I started feeling relief.
But do you think that that procedure the doctor recommended helped you?
Yes,
Okay. Did you go back to that doctor?
I did.
Did you explain to him your complaints?
I did.
Okay. What did he say to you?
They typically last 4 to 5 months, but mine were only lasting 3 months.
Did you experience relief from the injection the doctor gave to you to your spine?
I did.
For how long?
About 3 months.
How long?
3 months.
And after those 3 months, what happened?
Same thing. Spasms, pain.
All right, so we need to have the jury understand what kind of pain you're talking about. So the doctor's given you injections to your neck, correct?
Yes.
What type of pain are you experiencing and what parts of your body?
It's my neck stiffens up. I just wake up in the morning and I'm just stiff. The neck and the back. And the arm and the fingers go numb. They go icy numb. Summertime, wintertime, it doesn't matter.
And you told the doctor that?
Yes.
Okay.
They sent me to a nerve hospital.
Did the docs say there's some kind of medication you can take for that?
No.
Did they recommend further operative treatment?
More shots.
Okay. The jury has a packet which is going to show that you had epidural injections and medial branch blocks. Do you know what the difference is between the two?
Objection.
I withdraw the question. When doctors stuck needles in your neck, when they did that, was there any type of difference in the procedures for you?
No, they both hurt. They both
Okay, but did either help more than the other?
I believe the blockers did.
The blocks did?
Yeah.
Okay. Why do you feel that way?
Because two of them really felt good, and the other two didn't last as long. But I'm not sure.
And I think that I asked this before, but I'm going to ask it again. For all the procedures you underwent, the epidurals, the medial branch blocks, were you awake each time?
No,
Okay, when were you awake and when weren't you awake?
the first four I think I was asleep, and then the last two I was awake.
Okay, and the last two, when you were awake during that operative procedure, did the doctor talk to you as you were awake undergoing that procedure?
He tried, but I was in so much pain because of the needles going in.
Okay, did the doctor ask you to describe for you the pain you were in and whether it helped or not?
He did.
Okay, what were your answers?
It's going in and it's hurting. And he kept trying to get me to stay still, but it was hurting, so I started shaking.
Okay.
He told me I had to give it 2 hours to.
Okay, and were you laying supine on an operating room table?
Yes.
Was it the same doctor every time?
No, it was a different doctor.
Really?
Yeah.
Do you remember them?
No,
You didn't
I-
care who they were?
I did, but the pain, I just tried to block them out, actually.
Gotcha. Did you get the same relief after each procedure?
I did 2 hours later.
Okay. Do you still have pain to this day?
I do.
Where?
My neck and my fingers go
Fingers.
icy numb.
Okay. Now, at the time of the accident, were you employed?
Yes,
By whom?
hand transportation and my night job.
Okay. And I think you explained that to the jury before, but did the injuries affect your ability to work?
I just moved slowly. At my night job, I had coworkers that would take up the slack for me. They did that for about 3 or 4 weeks. They took the slack up for me. So I actually just sat there and got paid to do nothing.
I think you told us you have 8 children, right?
Yes.
I'm not going to go through each procedure that you went through. I don't want to bore the jury on the one hand. On the other hand, I want you to give a description to the jury of just what you went through.
Spasms first, and then I would call up the doctor and tell him I'm having spasm, and they would set up the injections for me. The spasms still happen today. Just have to deal with it.
How do you deal with it?
I take Motrin. Nothing I can do because I'm a CDL licensed driver. I can't take hard medicine. So for 6 days, I can't take anything hard because I have my job randomly tests us, so we can't take any hard medicine. The hardest thing we can take is Motrin, Tylenol, and maybe muscle relaxers. But it shows up inside the urine, and I want to lose my job. So I get 1 day of relief, which is Saturday. I can take the medicine and not worry about anything.
How about in any way has your social life been affected?
Yes, we used to go bowling, sexually.
All right, I'm not going to get into that because I think that's personal.
Okay.
All right. So please, for me, I'm Catholic. Don't get into that. But how?
No, we don't go out like we used to because it's too much. I don't play with the grandkids like I would like to because I can't move around like I used to. We used to go play baseball, just go out and play with the grandkids. Swing them on a swing. I just can't do all of that.
All right, you got 8 kids. You had to play, right?
Yeah.
All right, I got you.
And I used to enjoy the baseball, and the bowling
Mhm.
and the fishing. It was fun for me anyway. The grandkids say I'm no fun.
All right, how about your handsome husband over here? Tell me about him. Has he been there holding your hand
Yes, yes,
every step of the way?
yes. I can actually say he does.
Your Honor, I have nothing further.
Thank you very much, Mr. Grimes. At this point, we'll turn the questioning over to Ms. Schmutz for cross-examination. Ms. Schmutz, whenever you're ready.
Thank you, Your Honor. Good afternoon, Ms. White. Can you hear me okay?
Good morning.
Can you hear me okay?
Yes.
Good. Okay. Going back to the accident scene itself, as you were traveling down the road, I believe you had testified that you were traveling at less than the speed limit because your turn was coming up. Is that true?
No, I was going straight.
No, you weren't going to make a turn at the intersection, but you were traveling at less than the speed limit because you knew your turn was coming up.
Yes, it was coming up.
Objection, Your Honor. Your Honor, it's been stipulated the accident is the defendant's fault. It's not
Okay.
relevant.
All right, let's just have a very brief sidebar.
Very well.
We can talk about it. Whenever you're ready, Tina, just move on. Okay, Ms. Schmutz, you could just repeat that question, please? I'm going to allow the question.
Sure, Your Honor, I don't remember exactly how I phrased it, but is my understanding that you were traveling less than the speed limit at the time the impact occurred? Is that correct?
I was going straight.
And do you know what the speed limit is on that road?
I believe it's
Objection.
Do we?
Your Honor, I'll let it. I'll let it, Your Honor. I'll let it.
The objection's withdrawn. Do you withdraw the question?
Withdraw it, Your Honor.
it's 40. It's 45.
And what was your speed when the accident occurred?
Objection. I'll withdraw it.
We'll note your objection, and I'll indicate that I overruled it, and I'll overrule this one for the same reason. Very good. You can go ahead,
Understood.
Mr. White.
I was going about maybe 43, maybe 40. I have an app on my phone. If you go past 45, it's an iPhone. And it wasn't beeping.
So is your testimony here today that you were traveling about 45 when the impact occurred?
No, under 45.
What speed?
I'm not sure. It wasn't over 45. The app does not let you go past 45 without beeping. And it was not beeping.
Do you recall testifying previously that you were going about 25, maybe 30 miles an hour when the impact occurred?
Ma'am, I don't remember.
Do
It
you re-
was not past 45. The
Okay.
app was not beeping.
Okay, I'm not saying that you're saying it was over 45. I'm just asking you if you recall
Uh,
testifying that you were going about 25, maybe 30 miles an hour when the impact occurred.
Ma'am, it was a beautiful night. I was traveling. I was singing. I was having a good day, and I was not speeding. My phone would have beeped and annoyed me.
Okay. And now, do you recall having a deposition taken in this matter,
Yes,
where you asked questions about both how the accident happened and your injuries?
yes.
And that was back in October of 2019.
I'm not sure, ma'am.
All right.
If you say, then it is.
And at that time, you testified that you were going maybe 25, maybe 30 miles an hour. Does that
Yes.
refresh your memory?
Yes,
Okay. You were wearing your seatbelt
yes. Have to, yeah.
and you didn't lose consciousness in the accident,
No,
correct?
just breath from the airbags.
And you didn't break any bones in this accident, correct?
No, ma'am.
And you talked about airbag burns, but they have resolved since this accident,
Yes.
correct?
hmm
Now, you told the jury that you had neck complaints immediately. Did you tell the police officer about those neck complaints?
Yes.
Did you also tell the police officer about your chest and your leg hurting?
No, I did not know I was bleeding until the police officer told me I was.
And do you recall that your primary complaints to the ambulance personnel were to your legs?
No, it was my neck and my back. I did not know about the leg until the police officer told me.
Did you see the police officer first or the EMS personnel?
Police officer, he had to pull me out of the car because the dashboard got stuck on my legs.
So then by the time that you saw the EMT personnel, you were aware of your legs, correct?
Yes,
All right. And would it be fair to say that your primary complaint that the EMT was treating was your legs?
no, primary was my neck.
Sure. Did you tell the did you tell the EMTs about your neck?
No, I believe the police officer did.
And have you ever seen the EMS report?
No, haven't.
Would it surprise you that there's no mention of any neck complaints in the EMS report?
I'm not sure.
Objection form, but I withdraw it. Jim.
Now, am I accurate that you're claiming that you have ongoing neck, shoulder, and wrist complaints from this accident?
Yes,
All right. And is it also accurate that by the time you got to the hospital, your chest complaints had resolved?
yes.
They were
I
related.
had my inhaler.
They were related to the airbag dust and affecting your asthma, correct?
Yes.
It was not due to pain, true?
No.
Um, when you're at the emergency room, you didn't have to get stitches, true?
No.
You were just treated in the emergency room area and not admitted to the hospital?
No.
And they discharged you that same day?
Yes.
And they advised you to follow up with your family doctor?
Yes.
And they excused you from work for about 3 days?
I believe so. I took the whole week off. I used vacation day.
But as far as the emergency room doctors, they excused you from work for about 3 days. Is that true?
Yes.
Now you testified. I don't recall what you said. When did you first see the regional orthopedic doctors after this accident?
I believe 2 weeks later.
Okay. Do you recall being asked that same question at your deposition?
No.
Would it surprise you that you told the attorney asking you questions that you went to regional orthopedic 3 days after the accident?
I'm not sure.
Do you know why you would have testified to that?
Probably had the paper in front of me. I don't have it in front of me right now.
Well, if the records indicate that you actually went on January 27th, which is about 2.5 weeks later, that would be accurate, correct?
If the paperwork says so, yes.
All right. So then your testimony about 3 days would be inaccurate?
I'm not sure, ma'am. I don't have the paperwork in front of me. Is it in this packet? I can,
Miss McWhite, you cannot ask her questions,
Oh.
okay?
Now let's talk about the injections that you underwent. You told us about some of the risks that the doctors discussed with you before you got the injections, but I would also presume that they also discussed the benefits of getting these injections with you. True?
yes,
Because otherwise you wouldn't have undergone them if you didn't have any reason to expect a benefit. Correct?
yes,
And so, despite the risks, you went forward with these injections. True?
yes, because I was in pain.
And there weren't any complications from them, right?
No,
And after this accident, you underwent 4 injections, correct?
yes,
Do you recall being asked that same question back at your deposition?
no, ma'am.
And at that time, at your deposition, you testified that you believed you underwent 7 injections. Do you know where you got that information from?
Yes, because I had to do it through my own insurance. Yes,
But in reality, if we're looking at the medical records that your attorney is providing to this jury, you only underwent 4 injections, correct?
yes, through,
Objection to form.
You to be heard?
Just about reality. Other than that, no objection.
Rephrase the question, Ms. Smuts.
Sure.
I'm going to sustain it as the form.
Trying to remember what I just asked.
You said in reality, I guess, and that was the objection.
Oh, okay. I
Yes,
didn't
if
hear what
you-
Mr. Grimes said. Now I
Yeah,
understand.
if you rephrase it, that would be.
Right. So based on the medical records provided to the jury, you underwent 4 injections following this accident, correct?
yes,
And the first one was in April of 2017.
yes,
The next one, June 2017.
Yeah.
There was about a gap of 9 months, and then you underwent one March of 2018.
yes,
And then your last injection was in April of 2018, correct?
yes,
And you agree with me that these injections, they provided you some relief.
yes,
They were helpful to you.
yes,
And you also testified that you had some chiropractic care. And I believe you testified to the jury that you underwent about 3 to 4 months of chiropractic care.
yes,
And the jury has the packets, and you saw Dr. Panaya, and it looks like you saw Dr. Panaya for about 2 months, from June 2017 to August 2017. Does that sound accurate?
yes,
And you haven't had any chiropractic care since August of 2017, correct?
no,
And during that 2 months that you were seeing Dr. Panaya, you went for about 14 visits.
yes,
Now, you were asked a similar question at your deposition where you were asked how long you got chiropractic care for, and your answer was for about a year. Do you recall giving that testimony?
yes.
Now, why did you testify that you got chiropractic treatment for about a year?
That was through just my personal insurance.
But there's been no records provided as to that.
That's not a part of the case. That's just my personal insurance.
But you were aware at the deposition, people were asking you questions about as it related to this case, true?
Yes,
All right. So it's fair to say that the bulk of the treatment that you got for this accident was chiropractic care that ended in August 2017 and 4 injections.
yes,
And the treatment that you had for this accident ended in December of 2018.
yes,
And the treatment stopped because you were feeling better, correct?
hold on.
You need a break, ma'am?
You can't talk to me. You can't talk to
can't
me
ask
right
her.
now.
It-
You got
ask me.
you got to answer the question.
I'll take it.
No,
ma'am,
I did not feel better. If you want the truth, I did not feel better, still don't feel better.
So you're telling the jury here today that you did not stop treating back in December of 2018 because you did not feel better.
No, I did not.
Objection to form of the question.
The question was a little confusing.
That was a bad question. I
Correct. Yeah,
apologize.
no
Thank you.
problem.
You can rephrase.
Yeah, sure. All right. Well, let me ask you it a little bit differently. Get to where I'm trying to get to. Sorry. Sorry, Judge. Trying to get to my notes.
No
Oh.
objection, Your Honor. If Kate needs a break, no objection.
I don't need a break. I was just looking at the wrong page of my notes.
Okay, no problem.
I'm there now. Sorry about that.
Okay.
Okay. Okay, I apologize. I got to where I was trying to look for. Now, you were asked at the deposition back in October of 2019 why you stopped treating for the accident that we're here for today. Do you recall being asked that question? I couldn't hear your answer. Did you answer? I'm sorry.
Yes.
Said yes.
Thank you. Sorry, my sound cut out. And if counsel wants to see what I'm referring to, page 49, the question was, and why did you stop treating for the accident that we're here for today? And your answer was, I just said I felt a little bit better. Let's just stop them. I wasn't rating anymore. It was just pain. So you agree with me that you testified, or does that, sorry, let me rephrase it. Does that refresh your memory that you testified that you were feeling better after the injections and that's why you stopped treating?
Objection to the form of the question,
No.
Your Honor, because she left out the part about the pain.
I read that part.
Well, I think she
Well,
left
you
out.
did read it, but then you did. But then you left it out.
Here's what well, let me rule on the objection. What you left out was a little. You were mischaracterizing the deposition testimony. She said she was feeling, so if you characterize the deposition testimony correctly,
I said I missed the word a little. I
What's
didn't
that?
realize I missed a word. It was not intentional.
No objection,
Understood,
Your
no
Honor.
problem.
No objection, Your Honor.
Am I supposed to ask it again? I'm confused.
Any way you want.
I
Any
think
way
you
you
better.
want, Kate.
All right, did I read the, just so I'm clear, did I read it correctly, Mr.
Well,
Grimes?
you have to read. You have to read it
I'm
for us to know,
confused.
Kate.
I'm confused what your objection is. I did read
Well,
it.
you left out the part about the
I'm-
pain.
I'm
all right?
sorry. I
Listen.
will read it again. I'm going to read it
Right.
again. I'm just going to
All
start
right.
because I'm confused of what your objection was. But so at your testimony, you were asked question, and why did you stop treating for this accident that we're here for today? Your answer was, I just said I feel a little bit better. Let's just stop them. It wasn't reading anymore. It was just pain. Does that refresh your memory as to how you testified at your deposition?
Yes.
Okay. And would you agree with me then that at the time you stopped treating, you weren't having any more radiating pain,
No, I still had pain.
but radiating pain?
No, I just had regular pain. Just
Okay. And it was your decision to stop treating, correct?
yes and no. I didn't have the copay, $600 anymore.
And currently you're not under the restriction of any doctors, correct?
No,
And you agree with me that none of your doctors actually told you that you had a permanent injury related to this accident, correct?
Objection to form.
We better go to sidebar on this one.
Yes.
Tina, anyone else got back okay? I see Ms. Schmutz, Mr. Grimes. Okay, Mr. Grimes withdrew his objection. You can answer the question. If you need it repeated, Ms. McWhite, I'll certainly direct Ms. Schmutz to repeat the question.
can you have her repeat it?
Sure. Ms. Schmutz?
Sure, Your Honor. Did any of your treating doctors tell you that you had a permanent injury related to this accident?
Yes.
Now, again, do you recall the deposition that we're here that you took back in October of 2019?
Not really, but go ahead.
And at that deposition, you were asked almost the same question you were asked. Have any of your doctors diagnosed you with a permanent injury as far as you know? Do you recall being asked that?
I'm not sure, ma'am.
I'm sorry, I thought I heard somebody in the background talking. And I'll direct to your testimony. It starts at the bottom of page 27, where the question begins. Have any of your doctors diagnosed you with a permanent injury as far as you know? Your answer, no, I don't. Follow-up question, you don't know? And then the answer was, they didn't tell me. Do you recall giving that testimony?
No, ma'am, I don't.
Right. Do you recall being put under oath when you gave that deposition?
Yes,
So at the time of that deposition, you gave truthful testimony?
yes,
Okay. Now, you testified that you missed about a week of work after the accident, right?
yes.
Um, and do you recall a day of the week the accident happened?
I'm not sure. I think it's a Wednesday because we had the next 2 days off. And then I took off 2 more
back.
days, Monday and Tuesday.
And at the time the accident, you're working 2 jobs, correct?
Yes.
And are you working the same shifts now that you were working at the time of the accident?
For the morning, yes. After, for night, no.
Was your shift changed because you asked for it to be changed, or wait, let me ask this bad question. Did your shift actually change, or you just changed it the hours that you go in?
No, I quit a job, quit the night job.
The night jobs, that's the one where you
Elmwood. Hmm.
Elmwood. What's different
What's different?
about your shift?
Since COVID, our hours are 5 in the morning till 5 at night.
Oh, okay. So your shift changed because of COVID.
Mm-hmm.
Now I understand. Okay. All right. Now, you also were involved in an accident after the one we're here for today, correct?
Yes.
And that one occurred on March 30th of 2019.
Yes.
And I believe you testified that that one was a 5-car pileup, correct?
Yes. On the blue route. I can't think of the name of the route.
Several cars were involved in that accident.
Yes.
The accident involved at least one heavy impact.
Yes.
Your car was totaled in that accident.
Yes.
And that accident also resulted in injury to your neck as well as other
Yes.
parts of your body.
It jerked my neck.
And after that accident, you received treatment,
Yes.
including injections to your neck.
I believe 1 or 2.
And you underwent additional MRIs after that accident.
Yes.
Do you recall being asked about getting additional MRIs at your deposition?
No, I don't.
And at that time, you testified that you had not undergone MRIs. Do you recall that testimony?
No, I don't.
But you did, in fact, undergo additional MRIs after the 2019 accident, correct?
Yes. That was, yes.
You also, and I don't know if you testified about it today, but at the time of your deposition, you had at least one of your children living with you.
Yeah.
Do your kids still live with you?
She's 16.
Right. Okay.
I'm
And
sorry,
so
I did not hear that. I'm sorry.
the answer,
There's
or
one of my kids living with me.
Okay, I'm sorry. I did not hear
She'll
that.
be living with me for the next 3 years.
and she helps you out around the house, dishes, cooking, shopping.
Yes.
It doesn't all fall on you and your husband.
Mostly on me and my husband because he has gotten a job now.
But as far as the help around the house, you have your daughter to help you.
No,
What? I didn't hear the
no,
answer.
no,
Your daughter doesn't help you around the house?
no.
Did she used to?
Yes, my husband does.
Did your daughter used to help you around the house?
Yes. She's working now.
Your 16-year-old?
Yes.
And when did she start working?
June of last year.
Okay, so the time that you had the deposition and before then, she was able to help you around the house?
Yes. Mm-hmm.
All right. All right, I don't have any further questions at this time.
Thank you, Ms. Schmutz. Do you have any redirect, Mr. Grimes?
Just a few questions.
Sure.
You told us about your injections.
Yes.
When you underwent a procedure for injections, did they always just give you one injection, or did they oftentimes give you more than one injection?
I think it's 3, but I'm not sure.
3.
Mm-hmm.
All right. So you underwent injections 4 times, correct?
Yes.
Okay. And if you underwent them 4 times and they're giving you 3 each time, you underwent 12 injections. Is that right?
Yes.
Okay. Now, the accident that happened after this case,
Yes.
how would you describe the impact in this particular case? As light, moderate, or severe?
Moderate.
Moderate, even though the photos we've given to the
This
jury?
accident or the recent?
I'm talking about this accident.
Oh, no. That one was severe and painful.
Severe. Okay. And how about the one that defense counsel asked you about? How long after this accident was that accident? Approximately.
2 years?
2 years? Okay.
Yeah.
And had you been diagnosed with all your injuries before that accident happened?
I was.
Okay. And how would you describe that accident? The second one. 2
That one
years
was-
later, light, moderate, or severe?
Moderate.
Moderate. Okay. So you had some damage to your vehicle.
Yes.
How did that one happen?
We were driving from my father-in-law's and I heard screeching in the back, and then everybody just piled in and hit each other.
Okay. Were you struck in the rear?
Yes.
Okay. All right. That's all I have, Your Honor.
No follow-ups.
Very good. Thank you, Ms. McWhite. You have learned how to mute your mic, so why don't you go ahead and mute that mic, and we'll see if there's going to be any other witnesses for the plaintiff or not.
Just Mr. McWhite, Your
All
Honor.
right, so you take your
And
headset off.
briefly, we'll be very brief.
Sure. Take your headset off, Ms. McWhite, and your attorney's calling Mr. McWhite, so he'll sit
All right.
down.
So you're going to switch with your wife.
Can you hear me okay, sir?
Yes, I can.
All right, good afternoon.
Good afternoon.
I'm going to swear you in. You don't have to stand. If you could just raise your right hand, though, please. I'm going to ask you, sir, do you swear or affirm under the penalty provided by the law that the testimony you're about to give the court will be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth?
I do.
And if you could state your name for the record and spell your last name.
Joseph McWhite, McWhite.
All right, thank you very much, sir. Mr. Grimes will proceed to ask you some questions. Mr. Grimes?
Thank you, Your Honor. Mr. McWhite, I'd like to direct your attention back to January 11, 2017. And where were you when you learned your wife was involved in a car accident?
I was at home.
Okay. And how did you learn about the accident?
She called my phone. I didn't pick up, and then she called the kids. And then my daughter came up and told me what was going on at that point.
Did your wife call you from the hospital?
No, we actually went to the hospital when we found out where she was at.
Okay, but how did you learn? I mean, how did you know to go to the hospital?
Oh, she called and said where she was at.
She called you from the hospital. How did you feel?
She said she was in pain.
Okay. Were you worried for her health?
Yeah.
Okay. And how did you get to the hospital?
Well, I drove down
By yourself or with your kids, or how'd you
with
get there?
my youngest child.
Your youngest child. Why did you bring your youngest child?
But she was concerned also because she's the one that got the phone call.
Gotcha. Okay. What hospital did you go to?
Underwood, which is in Spear now, I believe.
Got to the hospital. Where was your wife?
She was being looked at. We were trying to get information on where she was at. And, being, at the hospital, they got to go through all the formalities.
Was your wife lying in a hospital bed?
I didn't see her when she was being treated. I didn't see her until afterwards.
Well, afterwards. Okay. And did you take her home?
Yes, I did.
Okay. And when she got home, what were her complaints to you?
It was her neck, her back, her wrist, and her shin because she had a laceration on her shin.
Okay. And at that time, how long had you been her husband?
Well, we've been married for 12 years.
At that time, 12?
Yeah.
Okay. And what did you do for her when she told you about her complaints?
Well, I tried to get her comfortable when she laid down. Try to get her medicine that she needed, and just try to go by directions that were given to her by the hospital, heat and cold compresses. Try to just keep her comfortable.
Okay, and she told us that at the time of the accident, you and her had eight children. Where were those children at the time you
Well,
brought her home?
Well, three of them were living on their own,
Okay.
and I'm sorry, 4 of them, and we had 4 of them with us.
Okay. Did they help out, like taking care of your wife too?
Yeah, my her oldest daughter and the youngest daughter and her one oldest son helped out quite a bit.
As the father of those children, did you give them any direction on how to help your wife?
Well, I just told her that mom was in an accident. She has very limited mobility at this point because of her injuries, and we all need to help out as best as we can.
Okay. And at the time of the accident, how many jobs was your wife working?
She was working 2.
Okay. And did she show up for work every day?
You mean before the accident?
Yeah, before the accident.
Yes.
Okay. How about after the accident?
She had a few days off that I can remember.
Okay. Did you ever talk to any of the people who she worked with when she was recovering? Any of her employees? You ever talk to them?
Yeah.
Okay. Did they ever tell you? Oh, strike that. What were your wife's complaints to you after the accident?
That she was in a lot of pain with her neck being stiff, pain running up and down her arm to her fingers.
Okay, and she's told us about the injections. When she went to the hospital for those injections, are you the one who took her?
Yes, I did.
Drove her there, drove her home?
Yep.
Okay. I have nothing further, Honor.
Thank you, Mr. Grimes. Ms. Schmutz, any questions?
Just a few, Your Honor. Thanks. You said that you were not present at the accident scene, correct?
Right.
Okay. And then you first saw your wife at the emergency room?
Yes.
Did you ever go to the scene of the accident?
No, I did not. You mean when
Did
it
you
happened? The date that it happened?
Yeah.
No.
Okay. And then the only way that you know how your wife feels is when she tells you, correct?
Correct, in the way that she moves about.
And you've been, I believe your wife said you were married almost 20 years, something like that.
Something like that, yes.
And you took a vow when you got married to love each other in sickness and in health.
Yes.
And you love your wife, correct?
Yes, I do.
Of course. And you don't like to see her in any pain.
No, I do not.
And before this accident, if she was sick or unable to do a chore or cleaning or cooking for some reason, you'd have no problem doing that, correct?
No, I didn't have any problems with it, no.
All right. I have no further questions.
Any redirect, Mr. Grimes?
Just a couple, Your Honor.
Keep it within the scope of the cross, okay?
Okay. What year did you get married to your wife?
2002,
2002. It's 2021. What year did you meet your wife?
about 90, 93.
93? All right. So another 7 or 8 years before you actually get married, right?
Correct.
Okay. That's all I have, Your Honor.
All right, thank you very much. Thank you. Thank you, Mr. McWhite. Are there any other live witnesses? Using the word live, I guess, in our 2021 sense. Any other witnesses to present via Zoom, Mr. Grimes?
Your Honor, that's right up there with Zoom and all the other words we're learning right now. But no, Your Honor.
All right, so with exception of presentation of your evidence medical packet, does the plaintiff rest?
Give me one moment, Your Honor. 30 seconds to think.
Sure.
Yes, Your Honor, we do rest. You have our packet. You have our certifications. You have the photos. We rest, Your Honor.
Thank you. Ms. Schmutz, with the exception of your medical evidence packet, any presentation on behalf of the defense?
No, Your Honor, just our packets.
So defense rests with the exception of the packet.
Correct.
Okay, so I think let's take a break, give the juror a very brief break, and the attorneys and myself will discuss how we want to move forward with today, and we'll be right back with the jury and explain what's next. So folks, it's Judge Chell again. It's good to see everybody after a brief break. So what's going to happen next is, as I explained at the outset of this is what is called an expedited jury trial, where the parties have agreed in lieu of live testimony of doctors and experts, they're going to submit the written records and reports of those doctors and experts by agreement. The parties have agreed to do that. That doesn't mean this case is less important. Quite the contrary, the case is very important to both sides, but it is a way to expedite or streamline the process and make things move a little smoothly for them and allow the case to move in a quicker fashion. But it is still very important to both parties, and your full attention is important. So each party, I'm going to give a very brief opportunity. They're not going to dig into what exactly is, inside the records that they're going to argue to you later during closing. They're just going to introduce what's in their packet, what documents. Each side will do that, and you have the packets already. And once that's done, you're going to be sent to the jury deliberation room, where all of you will have the opportunity to spend some time with the packets. Typically, anywhere from 20 to 45 minutes or longer if necessary, whatever each of you feel comfortable. The jury aide will be with you. When you're done going through the packets to the point where you feel you've had enough time to review everything, and you'll have time later too as well, obviously when you're deliberating this case, but this is an opportunity to go through the packet. We do that before the attorneys give their closing argument, because it gives you some idea what's in the packet, and then the attorneys can each highlight during their closing argument exactly what they really, really want you to focus on when you're considering their side of the case. So with that, I'm going to turn it over to each attorney to briefly introduce their packet, and then we'll let you folks, you'll be sent to that room and with the jury aide. And when you're done, all of you, everyone moves at a different pace, reviewing the packet. You let the jury aide know, and when everyone's done, we'll come back and discuss what's next. So with that, I'll turn it over to Mr. Grimes to introduce his evidence packet. Mr. Grimes.
Thank you, Your Honor. Ladies and gentlemen, we have 10 exhibits. The first one is photographs of the damage to the vehicles. That's Exhibit P1. You should have that in your packet. P2 is the police report. That's the police officer who responded to the scene. P3 are the medical records from Regional Orthopedics, the doctors who injected my client. P4 are the medical records of Dr. Ellery Panaya, the chiropractor who treated my client. P5 is a physician certification of Dr. Collini, the doctor who operated on my client and certifies that her injuries are permanent. P6 is the certification of Dr. Panaya, the chiropractor, who likewise certifies that my client's injuries are permanent. P7 is the curriculum vitae of Dr. Collini. So you know where he went to school, what medical school he went to, and what degree he has. P8 is the curriculum vitae of Dr. Garcia Pena, so that you know where he went to college, where he went to medical school, and what degree he has. P9 is the curriculum vitae of Dr. Panaya, the chiropractor, so you know where he went to college and what degree he has. And then lastly, P10 is an anatomically correct model of the spine, which I will use at closing argument so that each of you understand where my client was injected. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Mr. Grimes. Ms. Schmutz?
Thank you, Your Honor. In my packet, I have several of the diagnostic studies that she had underwent, both at the emergency room and then the MRIs that followed, as well as the independent medical examination report of Dr. Stephen Valentino, which is Exhibit E. So I would urge you to make that your primary focus when looking at my packet. It also includes his CV after that. And there's also a generic glossary of medical terms to help you when you're reading either of the packets.
All right, thank you very much. So I instruct you, jurors, to go to the deliberation room, go through the packets again. Do not discuss the case among yourselves. We're not to that point yet. That's only after all of the evidence is in and you've heard the closing arguments. So just alone go through those packets until you're comfortable that you had a chance to do so. All right, thank you and good luck. Tina will take you back to your deliberation room.
Thank you, Your Honor.
I might ask counsel to stick around for a chat with me.
Thanks.
Okay, we have all our jurors back. I want to thank you for taking the time, and on behalf of the parties and the attorneys, thank you for taking the time that you took to review their evidence packets. It's about 3:40. What remains in this case are the closing arguments. One from plaintiff and one from defendant, and then my jury charges, which is my instructions on the law in this case. With that left on our schedule, we're going to adjourn until tomorrow morning, first thing. You should have the case, meaning you should be deliberating on the case by, I would say, 10:30 or so at the latest tomorrow, because we're going to start at 9 a.m. tomorrow. I'm going to ask you all to start trying to get on your Zoom at 8:45 so we can get everybody checked in, everybody in place, so we can start with those closing arguments right at 9 a.m. So with that, I would just continue my instruction from previously. Please do not discuss this case with anyone. Please do not do any independent research regarding this case. If you saw some terms in the packet that you didn't understand or that you might want to Google, please don't do that. You're not permitted to do so. Just have a great night, and I'll see you all around 8:45 tomorrow morning. Thank you so much for your patience, and we'll see everybody tomorrow morning. Have a great night.